welcome. First of all, thanks to Wendy for sponsoring the break. And welcome if you're here for building the AI back office for construction. You're in the right place. I'd like to introduce Lars and Zach. So we'll take it from here.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So we knew going to cram the least attended session in the smallest room. Turns out maybe that's not the case. Good enough to open this up. There's everyone look underneath your chair. Someone's got $100 taped underneath that seat. Okay, serious. Right? Anyone? You find it yet? AGC said they couldn't there. I don't know. All right, now that everyone's engaged, here we go. All right. Blessed to be here. It's Chris Love's fault. Find Chris Love, blame him. So thanks for being here. A little bit of who I am and what I'm talking about. Honestly, I'm a contractor. Okay, I'm a builder at heart. Spent some time in the Navy building for the government, and then got out and started a construction company. Wild enough to do that in 2009. And then spent the next, 10, 15 years building that company, ultimately sold it. And during that experience, one, I didn't have much clue what I was doing, and I was super curious around how to make my life more simple and easier as a builder in this world where my first exposure to construction technology was a spreadsheet with 5,000 subcontractor line items on it, and my invitation to bid was a phone, a fax machine, and a 5,000 line item spreadsheet. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And from that moment on in 2009, it was like, I gotta figure this out. And so anything that was ever introduced to me, I sort of challenged. I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more simple way. So I was always a pretty tech-forward individual in my company, and arguably that was one of the reasons my business was acquired. So just before we introduce that, by a show of hands, how many, we'll call it non-construction company people are in the room, just so I get an idea. Okay, good. How about actual true builders, project managers, project executives, anything like that? Okay, and then IT departments, just so I understand. Okay, a lot of IT folks. I'd say during the course of this presentation, interrupt us. I guarantee it'll be more exciting if you throw us a curveball and give us something more interesting to talk about. We got a lot of slides to get through, but our goal is to provide you guys value, period. And we are certainly, I'll say for me, this guy's smart. I am not an expert, but we are I call it the tip of the spear on what I am attempting to do, what we are attempting to do, which is to make builders' lives easier, period. That's it. So, and one of the reasons is selfishly, I'm still a builder, okay? I'm building apartments, doing healthcare, government contracting, I'm still doing it, right? It's like a drug, I'm addicted to it. So. Now I just signed up for more stuff. So that being said, I'll introduce Zach. Go ahead, bud, and then I'll get into the next slide.
Cool. Yeah, Zach Koerber here. I've worked in a variety of startups, but I've spent the past few years really diving deep into the back office specifically with Lars. And when we first started, it was more about the automation and the structure, and obviously things over the past few years have evolved more and more towards AI. We're starting to see right now with where the models are today, a lot of really cool things get built. And I host a Tuesday morning webinar for free for the construction community. We've been averaging about 275 attendees every week, but every week I just present about something, whether it's a new model that came out or whether it's how to create MD file structures or how to approach creating a company brain that your whole company can operate off of. So I've had a lot of fun doing that. They're all on YouTube, and I'll give you guys a QR code at the end if you want to go check any of those out. But they're free to attend on Zoom. So this is really stemmed from a lot of the people that come from that community. They've asked questions, they've shown me things that they're trying to build, they've emailed me like, oh, I tried to tackle this big project and this is where it failed, or this is where we stopped trying to use AI because it just wasn't getting it right, for instance. So a lot of the lessons and even the theory around this flywheel that we're going to introduce in a second is really stemmed from those individuals that come every week and kind of like send me problems or approach me with their questions. So yeah, we'll get into it. So really what this is, I talked about the past few years, we've all seen this go from the chat to, now everybody's got a chat bot in their software. Like every tool seemed to be announcing, oh, now you can use AI, but it was just kind of like a chat GPT within their tool, right? And now we saw agents start to come about. And in 2025, we started to see this kind of like adoption or usage gap. And I'm going to be referencing a lot of stuff from a report done specifically in the construction industry about AI usage, AI adoption, and all those report statistics were pulled in 2025. And really what 2026 has been about, especially with all of the new releases around Claude and OpenAI, and now a lot of people are starting to use things on their local machines, and now we're starting to see a trend towards open models. Like 2026 is the year of the agent. Like we don't want to chat with things, we don't want to ask questions, we want to see, can this actually do a job for me? We've all seen the headlines of X company lays off 10,000 workers because now they're using AI and then they're hiring them back, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit, but 2026, really the theme of this year has been around the AI agent, right? So let's get into it. Yeah, Lars.
Yeah, so you're in this room because you guys know that this is real. This isn't going anywhere, and I think this all has the opportunity to make our lives easier. How it makes our lives easier, I think, is a big differentiator. Again, I'm a builder, I own a construction company, I'm a selfish person. I'm trying to figure out how to reduce my overhead as much as possible, simplify, give as much value back to employees, and just like keep it fast, keep it moving. And I think, in my journey, it's before you know it, you've got 5, 7, 9 tech solutions that everyone's touching in the office. But yet, we're still overwhelmed by Outlook, email, and Excel spreadsheets. And it's like, this is crazy. And when I went to ultimately sort of say, like, hey, how do I streamline my business? How do I structure this? How do I reduce my overhead, right? Field is one thing. It's its own animal. I mean, thankfully, I don't think I've ever had a fist fight on a job site, but we all know they occur still. And you're like, really? Adults still fighting? And name calling in porta potties, writing up on the walls that really that's going on. But in the office, I own them, right? And if my company is slow to respond to subcontractors and vendors, if we're inaccurate, if we, if it takes a sub, if we're the problem, right? Then from a market standpoint, then we're the sludging machine. And are we going to get the best pricing? So that relationship and how we present ourselves to the market, from clarity to speed to transparency around payment and things like that. Like, I own my office, right? So building the best team and the best process internally around what I would call the back office was something that was always extremely important to me. Like, if I can get rid of spreadsheets and human tracking, clicking boxes and then running reports every Monday, it's like I'm winning, right? So that's ultimately what we're going to be hitting hard here. Zach and I own Contracts Connected, which is back office, contracts and compliance structuring and automation. Okay? And for me, that was one thing that I focused on, is how can I control what I can control and provide the best value, and we'll call it vendor experience, to my subcontractor partners. Ultimately, because one, I think it's going to be harder and harder to find human beings to download, file, rename, check Excel boxes, and follow up on things. Tech can do this. So can we bring that forward? Go ahead, Wendy.
Yep. So I mentioned that study that was done in 2025. This is a few important statistics that I pulled out of it. So of the firms, the construction firms that were surveyed, 45% were saying they had no AI implementation. 34% said they were stuck in these early pilot phases, and then less than 1% actually had fully embedded, AI organization-wide. Now, this is, from a top-level company level, but we all know everybody has their own little ChatGPT account if the company's not already offering it, right? So I think AI is being used in a lot of these companies that said they're not using it. It's just being used in an unstructured way. And if we're going to layer agents on top of any of our workflows in the future, the structure does have to be there. So that gets into this flywheel, and this flywheel has kind of evolved from the multiple kind of like Tuesday morning sessions and the questions and the answers that have come out of that, and the people that have come to me afterwards telling me what they're trying to build, right? So it's just a continuous flywheel here, and the reason it's a flywheel is because a lot of times people are trying to tackle a problem that's just too big right out of the gate. They're like, I want to automate the whole accounting process around invoice processing, right? But there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of mini workflows within that kind of flow. So what I tell them is, hey, make an Excel spreadsheet, list out all the big things. So processing invoices for one, and then you kind of break it down into subtasks. Like, what are all the subtasks that need to happen? And then we basically create 2 columns after that, and we say, all right, well, which one of those subtasks provide the most value to your organization to least value? So we rank them kind of 1 through 5, and then time. So what you're really looking for is a line item there that you want to automate that produces very low value for your organization, but takes a lot of time. And that's what we kind of pick off first. And then you can use this flywheel to pick out a next line item and a next line item. So we're going to get through each one of these one by one, and then we'll kind of recap on them. But the first one is structure. This is no surprise, but structure is something that AI needs for the same reason as organizations need. AI is going to thrive in this structured environment. There are going to be edge cases, and we are going to use the LLM to kind of approach those edge cases or raise it to a human. But without structure, we can't create something like a trigger. A trigger is something that AI needs to turn on, right? And if that COI doesn't get into the right folder, if that email doesn't get forwarded to the right inbox, this agent's never going to trigger. So if the humans in your guys' company aren't used to this structure, the AI is never going to be able to grab it when it's supposed to. So I always approach it in the terms of, okay, well, let's look at the SOP that you guys have for your organization around that. And does it actually get used that way? So lower overhead, consistently better results, and it's something AI can actually act on. So that's the key takeaway on the structure slide. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we have a lot of slides here, but let's talk about the structure of document ingestion, for example. We're working in the back office. Some of our users, like if we pulled the average, some are doing like 100,000 plus documents a year, right? So it's a lot of documents getting kind of passed back and forth over email right now. And what we had to break down is, okay, well, there's 4 main steps, right? Something needs to ingest that document, needs to know what that document is, what do I need to do with it, where does it go, how do I analyze it? And part of that is validating, so you need to make sure that the Accord 25 form has all the proper certificate of insurance, limits and policies and so on. Then it needs to route, so it needs to get stored on your server. The file needs to get updated, a tracker needs to get updated, and then archived after that. So this is kind of like a flow for an example of what does that SOP look like, because we're going to dive deeper into this flow specifically here in the next slides. So the next thing on the flywheel is adoption. We're consistently seeing companies that try to build their own, Claude brain, let's say, and this Claude brain wants to, analyze things that are uploaded into a certain folder and then update a tracker dynamically. The adoption piece of that structure is where this kind of falls apart. So you could see, you can have structure written down, but the structure doesn't mean anything unless people are actually doing it. And when we were looking into the data around this survey taken in 2025 about AI, these were the reasons why AI was failing in those organizations. AI was failing because 46% said they don't have the skilled people to run it. 37% said that doesn't integrate with what they currently already run on. And then 30% said, their data was not clean enough to trust it. And a lot of this stuff can come from, the structure and adoption pieces. If the SOP was written out, you wouldn't have to worry about the skills. Nobody's figuring it out by themselves because the SOP is there, the structure is there. Integrating with what they already run, that's just a simple like build kind of phase, and we can get into that as well. And then the 30% saying their data is not clean enough to trust it, again, goes back to structure.
I think, from, again, builder, contractor mindset, they don't have skilled enough people to run it. It's overwhelming, the speed at which the stuff is moving. 2 months ago, it's like we're already a light year ahead of where we were 2 months ago. How do you keep up with that? How do you expect your team to keep up with it? It's overwhelming. Actually, raise your hand if you think it's overwhelming. Anyone? Yeah, it's okay to be honest. So, as a president of an organization, I don't want my employees to feel that. If I do my job as a leader, they shouldn't feel that. In fact, they just come in and they feel taken care of. So my job as an organization is to make them feel no pain around this. In fact, they're blind to it. The tool's just there. It supports them. And my bold statement in the future is that it's here as this sort of structured environment to enable and accelerate the employee, not overwhelm them with new tool, new tech platform over here, new this, new that, new training over here. So, I can't handle it, okay? And my field definitely feels it. Says it doesn't integrate with what we already run. This is a huge one. It's like, who's tired of just paying more tech companies? Listen, I own a tech company now, and it's like everything we do is to try to put myself in as a builder saying, how do I protect the margin that these guys try to harvest every day? And I'm a consumption-based model, advocate rather than anything else. And so you pay for what you use. And I think this is important because how many tools are people logging in and out of every day? How do we simplify this? And just layering AI into every other existing tech platform and increasing cost, is that solving the problem? I don't believe it is. So we're trying to greatly simplify this. And then this is just, how can the tools we offer provide the structure around this? And I think, the past 20 years it's come a long way. But I'd say what's interesting, back office, contracts, compliance, even negotiating, red line, everything, we're still in email and Excel sheets. There's still this, you got to go outside the system. And the moment a sub doesn't quite follow protocol, because we all know the guys that don't follow protocols are the ones that help us win the jobs, right? Now what do? You're going to tell your ops guys, sorry, you can't use them because they didn't send the lien release back correctly? They're going to say pound sand. So how do we provide a structure that employees they don't feel it? It's just part of the business. It's part of the DNA. Go ahead.
Cool. And then this is where it starts to get interesting. So trust, right? And I think that a lot of teams also fail around adoption because, I asked it a question and it hallucinated, or I asked it a question and it didn't know this, or it doesn't know about my projects, right? And the trust is where the team really needs to be involved in this stage. And there's 3 different kind of things that we're going to see that we built into this agent in this autonomous back office in a couple of slides here. First one is human in the loop. If you guys haven't heard of that, that is basically where AI might review a certificate of insurance, review a contract for risk, and then present you with a summary. And then the approve and reject button is ultimately up to the human at that point. So it's human in the loop, does all the groundwork, analyzes that document further than any human would have time to, and then the human can act from there. Structured environment, agents are going to be operating in defined rails, not open-ended freedom. So there's a lot of people that can go build with Claude Code right now and they just open up their whole computer to the thing. And that's going to present risk, right? And that's another reason that unless you're working with these agents every single day, you're not really sure what it's doing when you're away from your computer or in the background. It doesn't even have to open a window to go browse the internet in a headless browser, right? So trust in structure, in structured environments, and in scoped permissions. So I took an approach with the agent that you guys are going to see later in this presentation of, we already have a lot of these tools and these softwares, and these softwares come with permissions. For instance, if you have a new team member, you're not going to give them full admin permissions to go change the clauses in your subcontract agreement, right? And you can do the same with these agents. So you can give these agents scoped permissions inside of these accounts and let them browse in the browser just like a human. So it literally cannot do stuff that you don't want it to do in this world where you're having it browse on an internet browser through a logged in kind of permission gated account. So it's the same way you would permission gate, a new employee or somebody that's, on the project team that needs to see accounting numbers, but you don't want them messing with the accountant's kind of workflows and stuff like that. So this is 3 ways to kind of build in this structure and trust. We're going to go kind of show you guys some examples here in a second.
One of the benefits of a small room, I can see your faces. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah.
Because there are definitely some interesting faces out there. Any questions? Okay, raise your hand if there is.
Yeah. And then the agent. So this is kind of like the end goal, right? So the trust we're going to get into kind of like how they fall into getting to full automation in a second. But the trust is where your team is still pretty heavily involved. There's nothing that's happening without you guys saying, yeah, that's right. Right, so maybe after the 100th COI is analyzed correctly, okay, now let's move it to the agent. We trust it. It's going to do a good job. It knows our company. It has the MD files to reference and stuff like that. And the agent is basically when that trust rung has kind of been captured and the team feels good about it and it knows about your projects, it knows about how you guys operate. In that human in the loop, when you guys say, no, you did not analyze it correctly, you give it the feedback, so eventually it will. That's really the key. So the trust is really you guys working hand in hand with it. And then the agent is like, you go, and if there's edge cases, we'll talk about it together, or you can escalate it to me. And we're going to get into kind of what that looks like in the real world here. So this is just the flywheel. Again, prioritize it by the things that provide the least amount of value for the organization, but just suck up the most amount of time and the most amount of clicks, and then really try to take it in the smallest bite possible, and then incorporate the flywheel into those really small little workflows. Just getting an email ingested, a document downloaded, and a document uploaded into the right project folder. That is one little workflow that this flywheel can do before you go to that next step of like, okay, what happens after it's in the folder? And if you kind of dial it in like that, you can go troubleshoot that one step that broke rather than having this 50-step agent and not knowing, where to go to fix it. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but
slide it because I
yeah.
have it in front of me.
Yeah. So
keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I've been talking to Lars a lot about this, and it's kind of becoming clear as I talk with people more on those like Tuesday morning sessions that I think software is going in this world of services, right? So it is software as a service. That's what SaaS stands for. And if we kind of take a look at these 3 different levels of service, you have DIY, do it yourself. You have DWI, done with you, and you have done for you, DFY. And DIY is, the structure. You're doing it yourself, but you're doing it within structure, you're doing it within SOPs, you're doing it by hand. Then you have done with you. So this is that human in the loop, right? So this is the AI is doing it with you within your structure. And then you have the done for you, which is where we all kind of want to get to with this administrative burden stuff, right? We just want it to just do it for us. That would be the dream. And you can see how they break down into these different pieces of the flywheel here. Done with you has 2 of them, so adoption and trust. But yeah, so we're going to get into how that kind of like works with the back office next. Did you want to say anything?
No, that's what I wanted to.
Okay.
I want to make sure we set up the context correctly around back office, and so I don't know if this is how to do it, but I can. So if you think about. Yeah, actually, it's perfect. If you think about legal departments in a company or something like that, right? Like that owner, that attorney, they're going to want to say, no, this is my contract, right? I'm going to set up these templates, and these are my requirements. So that's a do-it-yourself, right? The owner, the legal department is setting up the structure. But then all of a sudden, it sort of gets into this, okay, do it with you, right? So one, it's fairly predictable. It's a lot of the same documents, right? There's the contract, right? Template. We send the same template out however many times a year, right? Okay, that's good to know. So same thing. How do we put that on autopilot? Right? How do we put that on repeat? But then it's also like, well, how do we What are the other things we need when we send a contract out? How about this? How about the fact that we negotiate contracts, right? We negotiate contracts. How do we keep that all in the same system? How do we learn from those negotiations? How do we keep signatures in the same platform? Why are we still having to go out over here, and over here to do what these tools solve? We're going to solve this problem. No, we're not. We're still in Outlook, we're still in Word, and we're still in Excel, right? And by aggregating all that together, now all of a sudden we pick up on incredible patterns, right? Which then allow this. Now, as a business owner, do I want AI negotiating my contracts for me? Nope. Do I want them signing contracts with me? Nope. But do I want them chasing down a COI and doing the first pass review to let that subcontractor know? Guys, you still don't have like the waiver of subrogation and the CG 851102 form right. If I never have to talk about an endorsement in my life again, I'm winning. And my goal is to return that time to your organizations. Okay? So you better believe I'm going to be negotiating my contracts. I'm going to be signing my contracts. Do I want AI to assist my team in risk around those contracts? 100%. Do I want AI to tell my ops team, like, hey, it's ThyssenKrupp. You have a standard agreement with these guys. You know, they're kind of a pain to deal with. Just accelerate. Go right to it. It's right here. Right? New PM. Do they know that? They don't know that. But what are the do it for me? Certified payroll. Who likes certified payroll? Oh, bummer. I thought I'd at least get one person. No one. So do it for me. In fact, this agent loves certified payroll. And you're going to meet her. Go ahead.
Cool. So I'm going to apply this to Contracts Connected, but you guys could apply this to any of the softwares that you guys currently subscribe to. We've just trained ours, obviously, on the back office, and then we have the structure pre-built for the back office, so it makes it really easy for us to incorporate this with the companies that are using it. So, you know, do it yourself. Our system kind of structures this contracts, compliance, and then ongoing site documentation. Done with you is, you know, our software with a little AI analysis there that says, hey, I recommend that you reject this COI. I've already drafted the deficiency notice. You know, click here to reject it and then send that email. That's done with you. And then done for you is Contracts Connected plus Wendy. And Wendy, it has a funny story behind it, and I'll let Lars talk about the name.
Some of the email screenshots that we had later, I should have put up the one. So
yeah.
Wendy, so
I think we did.
Contracts administrator, probably in the company, someone that's dealing with this churn, right? Wendy was my mom. God love her, she was my first contracts manager, contracts administrator. And I brought her back to life. Now, the good news is my mom's still around, which is sort of awkward to say. But like, she's back in the company. And I should have screenshotted and put it here because I forwarded her the email. And where Wendy's doing a job. And she's like, I think you've been hacked. And I'm like, no. It's a long story, but you're back in the company. She's like, I don't understand. I said, exactly. But Wendy is back and operating, right? And Wendy's my mom. And I named my first AI agent after my mom, God love her. And she kicks butt. And what's crazy, I was just telling Zach this morning, I was like, I don't think Wendy's made a mistake. Like, the power of that around when your organization is processing over 100,000 unique documents, it's insane, right? Because the structure is set, and she just churns. So, anyway, that's Wendy, okay? And so when we talk about repetitive tasks, when we talk about like do it for you, she's crunching right now, COIs, she's chasing them down with subs, she's collecting, she's reviewing, she's communicating, she's following up with my ops team. She's literally saying, hey, by the way, I know these scopes are in draft. These have been here for 3 days, you haven't reviewed them, you might want to review them, because it's sort of like your contracts admin's like, hey, I'm waiting on my project manager again, right? We've all been there. And your PM, anyway. So yes, sir, in the back, raise your hand.
Explain how she's communicating. Is she emailing?
Oh yeah, we have some screenshots for you guys and stuff of how she's working. Yeah.
What's the thing that we do all the time? We email. And what's crazy, and we talk about adoption, but I don't want to. So we'll get into the adoption. Nugget there. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Turn it back to you.
Yeah. So what is Wendy built out of? And this was built in Dawes Group. It's a real construction company doing real projects across the U.S. right now, and really operating in real world scenarios. And how is she built? How does she operate? And I told Lars I didn't know if it was a good idea to name it Wendy, because then I talk about upgrading her and yeah. So we have memory, structure, and communication. Those are the main pieces of how she operates. And this can be true for any workflow within an organization. I know we're really focused on the back office here today, but what I tell people in my Tuesday webinars is, I talk about the back office all the time because I know it deeply, but you could take this flywheel, take this structure here and apply it to a lot of different areas of the organization. So memory is really important. She knows everything about every project manager, what projects they're on, every subcontractor. She has, a reference around what projects are active, what stage they're at. Really, what it comes down to is a self-improving loop of every time she gathers new information or is exposed to new information, she's improving her brain around this stuff, adding to not only operations and what's happening within the organization, but also like company knowledge. This is how we operate. This is our documents. This is how things flow within our company. It has to be specific to the way Dawes Group does it for it to be really effective. And that comes into the structure play as well. We didn't have to train her too much on structure because we had her really trained up on how Contracts Connected works, and we let programming handle a lot of the structure. A lot of times I see people try to approach some of these things that have a lot of structure around them inside of organizations, especially construction. You guys do the same thing over and over and over. And a lot of times AI might not be the right thing to use for that. Meaning, it's very deterministic. It's like, if then this, then this. And any time that you guys can program a if-then type of situation, it's going to be much more reliable and it's going to consume less tokens. It's going to be better all around for the organization than just giving AI a problem and like it's arguably like a little bit lazier of a way to be like, I don't want to try to calculate how to get it to decide one way or another. I'm just going to let it decide every single time and think through it. So the structure is Contracts Connected for Wendy, and then communication. Communication was really important because of adoption. And we don't need another ChatGPT window or another Claude window. My goal with Wendy was to basically build something that his team and his vendors didn't even know wasn't a real person. And how do contract administrators work today? They're communicating over email, right? And if I can get this agent to respond back via email and operate within the structured system, and I'll talk about why Contracts Connected is important to Dawes Group specifically in this in just a second. I needed it to feel like it was just another human on their team, another part of their team. And we needed to approach this in a way where, how do we get into their team's workflow without forcing a behavior change, right? And I think that's why it's been so successful inside of Dawes Group.
Can you go back real quick?
Yeah.
I think, so again, CEO of a construction company, why am I adding in another tech platform? Rule is, if I'm adding one in, I'm getting rid of 2 or 3, right? So when you think templates, when you think contracts, when you think digital signatures, when you think red line management, red line negotiations, when you think COI, certified payroll, invoicing, lien releases, wait a minute, I'm eliminating a lot. This is good. And now, do my teammates or my team actually even go into this thing? Wait a minute, this is interesting. So my goal was always to simplify this for my team. Okay, so I'm just putting that there, making that clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably move a little quick because I know we're close on time. So you basically, with structure, the thing that was important for me about Contracts Connected on top of the email communication was you don't have to trust it blindly. And really what this is about is seeing the structure and the auditability of everything. A lot of people are out there building agents and they just kind of like let it go and they like hope it does it right, but there's no audit trail that's really robust, right? And if you're having this thing log in almost as a user, you could see every single click, every single change, every single upload. It's like having anybody else log into your guys' software. So as far as the back office goes, we want to know, who uploaded it. Did Wendy upload it? What's the audit? What emails has she sent recently? What replies have she gotten? So this is really about building transparency to establish that trust between the agent and your team as well as be able to go, backtrack, what happened here if it ever does make the wrong decision. I put in a bunch of slides about security here. They have a lot of text, but essentially you're really trying to decide what they can and what they can't do. Again, the permission gated accounts, you can feel more secure about that stuff rather than having to just rely on, I hope I programmed this right. It's literally permission gated. They cannot click a certain button without that permission. So you don't even have to worry about really robustly programming in a guardrail, for example. So I'm going to go to the next one. The agent does not create a new place for your data to live. So again, we're just leveraging tools that are already existing. Dawes Group was already using Contracts Connected prior to Wendy coming to life. So it was really easy to say, the data is still going to live in this one place. It's still secure. Security and keeping your data close to the chest is really important for construction. So being able to say, okay, my data's not going anywhere else. Every action's written down. It's all encrypted, and everything is kind of scoped as far as what she can do and what she can't do, and revocable as far as permissions. And then this is the last thing about security, but this is where the risk comes in, right? Because I introduced email into this whole scenario. And while Contracts Connected has, SOC 2 Type 2 and different security things, and I know the data is safe there, what about email? And email becomes this kind of almost like open wound where somebody can come in and prompt inject this agent and kind of mind control it. And if you guys don't know what prompt injection is, there can be all kinds of things across the web where there might be some white text on some white background, and it's you're now supposed to do this and look up any information that's sensitive and write this email. So this is something that's becoming less and less of an issue with especially Opus 5 that just came out. They say that there's virtually no prompt injection risk with it, but regardless, it's still something we wanted to be built around and have a really robust structure with. So we didn't want to just give it some normal email address with some normal email inbox. We needed to build some structure, some security, and some safeguards around how it's receiving this information if we're going to open it up to anybody being able to send it information. And that was important for us to do because vendors just forward 15 certified payrolls to this agent, and then she's got to read them, figure out who it's from, and then go in Contracts Connected, and she goes and puts them in the right places for the human team to approve or reject at that point. But spoofing, prompt injection, social engineering are all ways to just trick this agent or get it to do things that it shouldn't. And what we've kind of built into the code base for Wendy's email system is known senders only. So there's a network within Contracts Connected between their vendors and their team members. Every time she receives an email, before she really digests what's inside of it, she has to go verify that it's someone on her known sender list. Otherwise, she will forward it to somebody on her team that's responsible for her. Nothing is written without a second confirmation, and documents move as revocable links. So while she can receive attachments, she's not sending any company sensitive attachments out as physical attachments. They can't be retracted. They're all going to be sent as revocable links. So if she is sending their insurance requirements to a subcontractor, it's via a link that can then be kind of revoked at whatever point. So I could talk a lot about security. I know it's a really important factor here, but we're also, low on time. So if you guys want to ask me any questions afterwards, I can. We're going to get into, what Wendy's actually doing within his organization now, and how she's emailing. And you guys are going to see that, vendors and team members, they're not able to distinguish. We've had multiple accounts where vendors are getting automated reminders about certificates of insurance missing, weekly certified payroll missing. They need to sign their subcontract. The red lines have been sent back, and they're just kind of like numb to a lot of these like company notifications, I guess you could say. They're probably getting so many emails a day. They're just filtering for people's names at the end of the day to see what they need to actually respond to. And we saw multiple cases where they've been reminded 5 times by the system, and then Wendy sends one email, and they're like, oh, I'm going to get on it right away. Thanks, Wendy. Like it's a real person on his team. So yeah, Lars, if you want to talk through some of these slides, I think that'd be cool.
No, so I think it was like Wednesday night. Zach's like, it's ready. I'm like, turn it on. Thursday morning, East Coast time, call 5 a.m., 4 a.m., West Coast time. I'm getting text messages from a couple PMs saying, who's Wendy? I didn't know I owed all this stuff to her. Sorry, I'm working on it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I probably should have introduced this with an email last year, But immediately, there was adoption. People paid attention to it. Why? What does everyone here pay attention to? Email. It's just how we communicate. It's easy. So immediately, it's just these little updates. And I think sometimes, there's like the trust but verified protocol, right? It's just like, hey, I've uploaded it. You're good to go. Proceed. Matt, your mom's awesome. Now, he knew, right? But it's like, well, that was simple. How do we... This takes like someone to write this email. It's incredibly inefficient, right? So go ahead, because there's a whole slide on
Yep.
and things like that.
Yep. So in this one, all Matt did, and Matt's a leader at Dawes Group as well, but all Matt did was he got sent via email a certificate of insurance, and he was like, I just forwarded it to Wendy, and she filed it away for him, and then she just let him know, hey, this has been filed away, so that requirements.
What scope, what project, with number, against task, done.
Yeah.
Easy.
And
we didn't tell her to write that.
And this is being done in that collaborative environment, right? So I think that the collaborative environment, like these tools, are going to be really important for construction to adopt this AI agent kind of workflow, because we don't want it operating in the background. And in terms of a place where, while we're building trust and while we're getting ready to adopt this more agentic flow, we almost need a collaborative space that the AI agent's working in and humans can come into as well. And this is going to become a collaborative environment until it eventually becomes more automated when that trust is there, but it's not there yet. And I think that it's going to take some time to get there. So having one place where, he can forward it over email and she puts it in the environment where Matt knows he can go log in and go check that, So it's a mutual space for the AI agent and the actual employee to come in. This is your next one.
Just, scopes that are sitting out there. This one, this one, this one, this one. Hey, what can I do to help?
Yep. And then she's also letting them know, like, hey, once these are approved, I will push these commitments out to each vendor right away. So she's also getting company notifications through our system and that structure. Once the right approver approves, now the scope can turn into a contract, and that contract can get out to that vendor, right? And she's going to get that notification, and when we're talking about triggers, she's going to be triggered to then go, log into Contracts Connected and send that commitment out to the vendor.
And just point of clarification, typically how does it work? It's like, here's your input form, fill it out, send it to the contracts manager, and then they put it in the Word document, and then they send it.
Yep.
She can do that. Done.
Yep. And it's all about structure, right? So she knows very clearly what the next step in that structure is. So there she can take next action without somebody trying to be logged into Claude or ChatGPT and say, okay, now do this. Okay, now do this. And you guys might be unlocking some of these like agentic capabilities, but you're telling it what to do next, And that's because it just doesn't have the structure or the memory associated with it to take the action on its own. And that's where the unlocks come. So this one's to Jesse. and Jesse is a project manager. So it's basically saying this sub has a handful of items sitting in pending approval, which means that they've been submitted by the sub, but Jesse is the human in the loop, and he has not approved these things. They're waiting on your side to review. You're the internal approver for these, and then she kind of lists out what the project is, and then what those documents are. So there's a certificate of insurance, and then there's SBA classifications and so on. And she also kind of took it upon herself to analyze this certificate of insurance as well. Yeah.
Are these like hyperlinks that would take you back into the artifact, or how do you?
Yes.
Yep, she's got links.
Exactly. Go
Yeah.
right to it. Don't make me click 5 times.
And she'll also, like, if you email back, be like, hey, can you just send me an attachment? She'll go download it and send internal attachments to internal team members. Yeah.
Or you can, again, say, hey, Wendy, from a feedback standpoint, set it up. It's like, hey, if there's ever a problem, just include the attachment in the email, right? And then, again, certified payroll. No one raised their hand. But it's like, not only are we dealing with sub-tiers, it's week ending, she's filing them, the entire logic and history is there. We're exporting, I don't know, 15 vendors every week, and then per times month, distributing it off to the government. This is a pain. This is a heavy lift. Easy, finally. Oh, this is good.
Yeah, so this is a fun one. Lars didn't tell me he was going to be testing security this day, but he had one of his subcontractors try to basically trick it. It wasn't a prompt injection. It was an email within the network. So that vendor did have a right to get their basically their email processed, but you could see that basically she's emailing Jesse, which is the project manager, with Lars CC'd and Matt CC'd, the 2 leaders at the organization, basically saying, hey, heads up, this person at Calray emailed me asking me for some other invoices on this project, saying that she works closely with them and needs it for a change order she's trying to get to you right away. I declined. I'm not going to release another subcontractor's confidential bid information. And this all comes from the guardrails and the structure and having a structured environment about what vendors are connected to what projects. Because if there was not structure around this specific person that was emailing from Calray being connected only to the Calray, vendor profile, and there was no memory around that, she wouldn't know to deny it. She wouldn't have that context to think through, okay, this is a vendor that's not associated with, this other scope of work or this other commitment. So yeah, and then they're just trying to warn their PM that it was just a test. And she tried maybe like 10 emails where she went back and forth consistently, like basically asking, and then Wendy eventually stopped replying to her and said, I'm not bothering with her. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it was a Wednesday night, turned it on Thursday morning, get the text messages. Like literally one email, right? They just started replying to her, and she starts logging it, filing it, sharing information, giving updates. How do we naturally do work? We email. Go ahead. And then this is just like breaking down an ROI. A lot of people in this survey basically said, 28% of firms said they were unclear about, how to calculate ROI. When you guys are breaking these things down into these simple little like repetitive tasks like we're seeing with Wendy, it just becomes an equation. So contract creations going from 78 minutes to 12, and then monthly compliance and document tracking on vendors that are on site going from about an hour per vendor per month to 8.4 minutes. This is all stuff that we tried to measure across companies that we've integrated with. And calculating the ROI is kind of one of the biggest barriers, and a lot of people get asked this question, like, hey, we're gonna try to do this AI tool, and then the leadership says, well, what's the ROI gonna be on it? And without that answer, we're seeing a lot of companies just like either get stuck there, or they're saying, I don't know, or they don't know how to calculate it. Yeah, Jimmy. Oh, 2 minutes. All right, so here's the flywheel again, and then here's some QR codes. This one will get you guys a couple of links here. So there's the YouTube playlist of the Tuesday morning trainings. We have kind of like a
a wait list going for Wendy style stuff. And then there is an AI community that I have a bunch of courses. And basically I have like maybe 3 or 4 courses, 50 plus videos on getting started. And then I post everything on my LinkedIn. So that's the smaller one. I post what I'm going to be presenting about on the next Tuesday session, as well as what I'm seeing while we're building out Wendy and stuff like that. So we have 2 minutes, but actually 1 minute now.
Questions?
But yeah, speed round of questions.
Do you have this PowerPoint on any of these?
Yeah, I recorded this actually too. Yeah, so I recorded this and I'll be putting it on the YouTube channel for Contracts Connected if any of you guys want to go back and watch it. And I'm going to edit it so the slides are on there as well.
You guys have a booth over there?
We don't have a booth at this convention, but we typically do at AGC conventions. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So Wendy, right, someone's sending her the certificate of insurance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's not going out, or how does she know?
No, she can go.
She'll go chase it down.
There's an expiration date. When does your company right now reach out to that vendor? 30 days prior? 60 days prior? So, okay, cool. So it's like, well, 60 days. Wendy's going to automatically reach out because it's a standard company policy. Within 60 days of expiration, start reaching out. So her first sort of report back to you is, hey, I've emailed Alpha Mechanical 5 times on these dates. It's now within 30 days. I started at 60 days. They haven't responded. Stacy, do you want to call them?
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
But how does she know what's sent back to her is the certificate of insurance?
Oh, she opens it and reads it.
Yeah, and Wendy is trained on your company's requirements.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right.
And it's as easy as TurboTax. You literally take your requirements right out of the contract, paste it in, and it'll fill out all your requirements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if she doesn't know it, she can go look at the subcontract that's been executed to figure it out.
Okay. And you're giving her all that stuff.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, go ahead.
I was going to say, obviously, this could go on for a while.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. So.
Time is up, so thank you very
If you
much.
want to leave, you are now released.
And just a reminder that the
Chris Love owes you someone in here $100. Literally, you should find him and say, "Where's my $100?"
And the next general session is at 11:15 in the Portage 1 and 2.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Excellent.
Yeah.